Welcome to an entire show dedicated to lefties losing it. Starting with what apparently is the hardest question of our time to answer. What is a woman? So let's ask these self-proclaimed feminists. I mean, surely they must know the answer, right?
A woman is, they can be femme, they can have a penis, they can have a vagina.
What is a woman? Well, they're going to have hormone replacements. I would say your hormones are probably what make you a woman for the most part. You can be born a woman, but, you know. What is a woman?
A woman is a powerful, strong, like, we're all together for each other.
What is a woman to you all?
Someone that identifies as a woman.
What is a woman?
That's a question.
What is a woman?
A woman is anyone who identifies as a woman.
Oh dear. Only the left would protest women's rights and have a complete brain fart when asked what is a woman. It just never gets old, does it? Actually, I don't ever think it'll stop being hilarious. Now to this insufferable leftie and her bizarre take on resistance.
Black healing is resistance. Indigenous healing is resistance. Trans healing is resistance. Have the audacity to heal yourself. When you heal yourself, you heal your lineage and your ancestors. Have the audacity to love yourself. Because when you love yourself, it is a you to every oppressor that would have you drown in your self-hatred.
How was the pause at the end there? Good grief. Now to the tiresome twits who still cannot seem to grasp that Donald Trump won the election. Thousands have marched against the incoming president in Washington, D.C. And a warning, this next clip features lefties who, well, are exactly how you probably imagined.
I'm personally here because I had a mental breakdown after Donald Trump won. It's devastation. It's absolute, complete devastation to people's mental, emotional, physical, and psychological health. People are dying as a result of Trump being elected. There are people dying by suicide because they don't want to live in a country where their rights are not respected and them as people are not seen as people, but rather than objects of that should be eliminated.
And you can really pinpoint the exact moment there, can't you, when she realises that she's actually got no idea what she's trying to say. But look, we'll give the other lefties a go. Surely there's others in the crowd with some common sense, right?
It's a downward mental impact. It's not good.
My biggest worry right now, honestly, as a mother of a trans kid, I really worry about their rights. Like my sign says, our own Constitution only says all men are created equal, and I really wish that would change for the whole country.
No, look, there's got to be other reasons, surely. I mean, the majority of the country voted not for the woke, but for important issues like cost of living, right?
I literally broke down in tears and several of my friends cried as well. It's scary. I mean, a lot of my friends are nurses and we are scared for our future. I think that the people that are in support of it are probably in support of it for the wrong reason. They want cheaper eggs and gas and milk.
Yeah, cheaper groceries. Nah, no biggie, cost of living. Who cares? I mean, I'm sure all of the American Trump voters will take advice from someone dressed in a Handmaid's Tale's uniform and a mask there. It was a cute touch, that mask. Really love it. But now we are really heading into bonkers territory with this next lefty.
Illegal immigration is a farce.
What do you call it? What do you call it? Undocumented?
Government. It's an imaginary line.
I dare you to cross the Canada-United States line.
White man. How dare you? How dare you?
That was kind of racist.
I'm a privileged white man too.
How was that racist?
But you know what I'm doing?
You just called me a privileged white man.
You cannot be racist to white people because white people are the dominant race in this country. Full stop.
You were calling me privileged when you don't know anything about me. I could have grown up in Section 8 housing.
This is privilege.
Okay, all right. Tell me this.
Privilege.
Why are the left so self-loathing, riddled with guilt, absolutely tying themselves in knots of confusion? And even the white liberal Karens seem to confuse themselves as well.
So what does that mean, white supremacy is terrorism?
Have
People have been terrorized by white supremacists.
Do you notice that almost everyone here is white?
White started it, white got to fix it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I'm glad we clarified that. Good one. Thank you. Now to peak lefty Don Lemon, you know, the former CNN host, the one that was sacked. Well, he's back posting illogical rants and on a downward spiral, this time suggesting that moving Trump's inauguration indoors was not due to the cold.
I'm not sure it's the cold. I think maybe it's that you're afraid of the crowd sizes and that hotels are still available and that a lot of people, as many people as, showed up for, Barack Obama or Joe Biden or whatever, won't be showing up for your inauguration. I think it's the crowd sizes. That number is more important than the temperature number.
You keep telling yourself that, Donnie. If it helps you sleep better at night, all the best to you. Now to New York, where I'm sure the locals would hope for a crackdown on crime and violence and other issues. So how is New York Governor Kathy Hochul spending hard-earned taxpayer dollars? I mean, surely it's on fixing things and improving the lives of those in the city, right?
I got my suit and tie. I'ma leave it out on the floor tonight. And you got fixed up to the nines. Let me show you a good thing.
No, how naive of me. No, it's going towards jazz hands and an audition for Broadway. Good to see. Now, what will the bitter banshees of The View do once Joe Biden is gone?
I miss him already. I miss him. He's a good person. He spent the last 50 years caring about the country. This other one spent 50 years scamming everybody, and trying to stay out of jail. You know who I'm talking about. I really miss Biden. I feel like we were safe. Like, I didn't have to worry. Was everything going to blow up? I could live my life while he was there. Now, every day I wake up and I worry, what is this guy going to do next?
Poor Joy. She must be one of the only people who feel safe with this man. A very safe, stable, coherent President of the United States. And it looks like the Trump effect is in full swing now. SNL are taking on the lunatics over at MSNBC. Coming up, a Joe Biden extravaganza. You won't want to miss this one. We've gone deep into the archives to dig up the best of old Gaffy Joe as he finally finishes up as president. But first, cue the inauguration lefty meltdowns because Donald Trump is back, baby. Yes, some of those were even from the first inauguration, but this time round, it's music to my ears. The screams really warm my heart because we love to see it, don't we? It's over for the woke lefties who are just so desperately trying to stay relevant in this new era of optimism. Cue the Karens, please.
I would rather wear underwear full of angry bees than watch the inauguration on Monday.
And of course, when all else fails, make a public service announcement.
I don't know about you, but I will not be watching the inauguration. Not during the inauguration, not after the inauguration, not any part of it on the news. Who's with me?
Oh my God, please stop everything. If Karen wasn't watching, isn't going to watch, Trump should have definitely cancelled that inauguration. That's a huge blow for number 47. He will be absolutely devastated. I mean, what will these lefties do for the next 4 years?
A lying felon and adjudicated rapist is going to be taking an oath on the Bible. And you wonder why the world is laughing at us?
And look, please spare a thought for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is just not okay.
All these journalists are like, Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Are you going to the inauguration? Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate rapists. So no, I'm not going to the inauguration tomorrow.
Oh, so sad. Again, what will Donald Trump do without you? Now to Don Lemon, the sacked CNN host, who is continuing on a slippery slope into the never never. I mean, the poor guy is absolutely grasping at every straw possible.
Here's the breaking news for you. Remember, people were upset that Joe Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden? Well, President Biden pardons his family on last day in office. Why is he doing that? Is it unprecedented? Yeah, it is unusual, but it's also because of the unprecedented, unusual administration that we have coming in, and he cannot trust his family in the hands of Donald Trump's Justice Department.
Yes, Don. Now, is this the same preemptive pardons that the Democrats warned Trump against for years?
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes. And we may not be aware of what they are, but the pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
The idea of a kind of prospective pardon, this sort of permanent federal get-out-of-jail-free card, that seems to be what we're talking about in the case of this, right, with Giuliani and his 3 eldest children who, as far as we know, have not been convicted of a crime. Maybe they've committed a lot, and they don't want to face action. I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't ask for a pardon. I don't think I deserve one because I don't think I've done anything criminal. But, like, where does that come from, that concept that you can just kind of wave your magic pardon wand?
They never learn, do they? And has anyone seen Don Lemon? Donnie, your thoughts on that, please?
Ask anyone who knows me. They'll tell you. I don't believe in belittling people, belittling anyone.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought, Donnie. Now to the moment you've all been waiting for, the Joe Biden gaffe reel, and what a spectacle we have for you. Here is the now former leader of the free world, who we were told was healthy, thriving, sharp as a tack, and rigorous, when really he was a potato this whole time, being propped up by stage mum Jill Biden. Please cue the tape.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more
Look, it brings a tear to my eyes, doesn't it? It really, it's a somber moment. It's a real sad moment. I mean, what are we going to do without him? Bye-bye, Joe. The bewildering bishop who turned Donald Trump's church service into, well, an exorcism. And luckily, it's given us plenty of content at the same time.
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in
Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
Yes, and see, that is where her crazed rant should have stopped, but sadly, it kept going.
I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
The left never learn, do they? And look, I've got to say, this just may be my favourite video of JD Vance yet, because the face says it all.
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
Oh, it says it all. It says it all. God love JD Vance. Isn't he the best? And thank you to you at home for digging up this clip from 2020 of that same activist masquerading as a bishop.
It is a message of a call for justice, for swift justice for George Floyd, for systemic justice for all brown and black people who have been under the knee of this country in ways that we have witnessed time and again. I've given up speaking to President Trump. We need to replace President Trump.
How this deranged woman was ever allowed at the president's church service needs urgent investigation. Now to Democrat nitwit activist Harry Sisson, who is freaking out over the president's inauguration speech.
He attacked people of color. He attacked LGBTQ plus Americans. He attacked average everyday Americans when he talked about putting his tariffs in, which are just going to raise costs for every single one of us. He ranted up there about being politically persecuted when in reality, he is a convicted felon.
They're so tiresome, aren't they? It is over. It is over. Move on. And this is coming from the same guy who struggles with such a basic question on human biology.
Do you think there should be more than two genders in America?
Yeah, I don't know what that executive order means. I don't know what the president declared.
It means there are two genders, male and female. Do you disagree with that?
How many genders are there, Harry?
Yeah,
come on, little guy. How many genders are there?
Again, these guys don't know what they're talking about, so they won't be able to answer.
Harry, how many genders are there?
How many genders are there, Harry?
How many
genders are there?
What's the legal? I'm gonna use Joe Biden's answers. At least two. At least two. That satisfies.
Well, how many more other than male, female?
That's a TikTok answer.
There's at least two.
Yeah.
There's at least two.
Well, no, hang on. There's male and female.
It's like human brain
Donald
rot.
Trump says there's male and female. There are two.
Okay, Dave.
How many more are there after male and female, Harry?
There's at least two.
At least two. Oh, poor Harry still hasn't grown up and learnt about anatomy. Now to the non-binary nufties who are in meltdown mode because of Donald Trump's glorious declaration that there are only two genders.
He has now claimed that there will only be the male and female gender that will be recognized in America. This sets back everything that the trans community has been working for, and we have already not been recognized in this country for centuries.
It's actually really simple. There are two genders. It doesn't need to be that hard nor that tragic. Now over to MSNBC. I mean, surely their crashing ratings must be enough to give them some incentive to give Trump some credit and see the light. No?
The second inaugural address my take on it was that it had more of a vibe of a State of the Union address than an inaugural address, I think in part because it was indoors. And that made it sort of feel like he was addressing a joint session of Congress, even though he wasn't, even though this was an inaugural address. President Trump spoke in his sort of trademark low monotone, gave his list of grievances.
OK, so nothing from Rachel Maddow. Has anybody checked in on Joy Reid?
The promises on the table are 200 some odd executive actions, an attempt to get rid of birthright citizenship, an attempt to do mass deportation, which we thought was being threatened on the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago, apparently, which said, yeah, you can't come here and do that. And maybe they backed down. We're talking about an attempt to portray this peaceful transition of power with people who were convicted in the insurrection attempt.
No, OK, Joy retains her title as the chief loon. Anybody else at MSNBC with some sanity? No, of course not, because here is Matthew Dowd comparing poor Americans who voted for Trump to poor whites who defended slave owners during the Civil War.
The powerful people are trying to segment off the white working class who are getting no benefit from this and will suffer in the Trump presidency. But the same thing is repeating itself in our country again.
Now to the lefty hysteria over Elon Musk's gesture at the inauguration, which the depraved are obsessed with calling a Nazi salute.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
Well, here is where it gets a tad awkward. Has anyone heard from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on her apparent Nazi salute? Or any of these Dems care to explain their violent Nazi symbolic gestures? And gee, shame on the village people. Not one, but two Nazi salutes at the same time. Do you ever have a bad day and forget people's pronouns? Because that's exactly what happened to this teacher.
So I had a kid on Monday. They said their pronouns were she, her. Then on Wednesday, yesterday, they came to me and they said, you know what? My pronouns are they, them. I want you in the class to use they, them. Okay, cool, great. They come to class today. There's names on desks in groups for assigned seats. They can't find theirs because I guess my first class knocked it off. So I go to the class. Hey, is she in anyone's group? Does anyone see her name? It took me 5 minutes to realize what I did.
Oh, whoopsie, and it took you 5 minutes to realise. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. And what do you do when you make such a grave error of judgment?
What I did when they were sitting by themselves, I approached them and said, I screwed up, didn't I? And they said, yep.
Gee, how can you live with yourself with all that disappointment? Now to the Britney Spears level breakdowns over Trump's executive order on genders.
Our new president has declared on day one of his presidency that our country will no longer recognize any gender aside from male or female. As a non-binary person who lives in the United States of America, I'm a New Yorker. I live in New York. I'm not going anywhere. I love this city. All right. Okay. So if I'm no longer a human, legally speaking, of course, I might as well have fun. So how am I spending my day this inauguration day? I am going to go commiserate with my fellow queer people at my favorite lesbian bar, ready for the circus.
Roll up, roll up. Is that circus recruiting?
And as long as you draw a breath, every breath you take is a rebellion. Keep on fighting because you just have to. Hail Satan, hail reason always.
Love that. Absolutely love it. And can someone please check on this next person who is apparently coming to save America? Okay, yeah, I've got a theory that maybe they might need some saving. And, you know, I know just the woman, actually, funnily enough, for that job. Here she is, the woke Bishop of America herself. In all her glory. She'll do it with those eyes especially. Cometh, save the dying gender crusade. And speaking of that bewildering bishop, it looks like she's found her loyal disciples in none other than the American liberal media.
Your tone there, so serious and genuine. You see him, he's stone-faced, he then looks down, but he's listening to every word you say. As you made that personal plea to him, what were you looking at him in that moment? What kind of response were you perhaps hoping for in that moment? Because it was gentle. I mean, it was intense and passionate, but yet it was gentle. It was not ugly or confrontational. Wouldn't expect it to be, but you know, these are hard things to talk about in that context.
Predictably, you seem to strike a nerve.
You seem to have more fearlessness than anyone in Congress right now, ma'am.
You know, Bishop, I was struck by your tone. You were so gentle, you were so respectful, you were very demure and very mindful.
Well, look, if The View ever needs an exorcism, then they certainly know where to go. Now, have a look at this delicious demolition of a puffed-up pronoun reporter on live TV.
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am as people who say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're gender neutral. Well, you are a man, yes. There are people out there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here, whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two?
I'm only aware of two.
Oh, could watch Pierre on repeat every day.